Okay, so we looked at disjoint events, two events that could not happen at the same time. Now let's look at non-disjoint events. So these are events that can happen at the same time. So if we look at our depiction of this, notice we have the circles for A and B, but they overlap each other, meaning that some of the outcomes in A would also be in B. So if I think back to kind of the example we talked about before, if the sample space, again, represents pets that I could adopt, and A represents the cats, and B represents the gray pets, then the overlap between a cat and a gray pet would be any gray cats, which is in fact what both of my cats are. They are both gray cats. But gray pets could also include dogs that are gray. It could include any like ferrets or hamsters that might be gray. It could include gray birds. So there are other pets in there that could be gray. And then A is all of the cats. So the gray ones, the black ones, the orange ones, all the different colors of cats we have. And then the overlap is the cats that fall into both of those. So now, the probability that A or B occurs if A and B are not disjoint or non-disjoint events is equal to the probability that A occurs plus the probability that B occurs minus the probability that A and B occur at the same time. So the overlap is what we subtract off. So let's look at another example, one that we can more easily quantify. So we have a spinner here. So if we look at our spinner, we notice that the spinner, each section of the spinner has a number 1 through 8, and then there are also different colors of the spinner. We have white, we have a light gray, and we have a dark gray color. So the first question says, find the probability of landing on an even number or a light gray space. So we're looking for an even number or a light gray space. So it is possible that I have an even number that is on a light gray space. So that means these two events are not disjoint. So I'm going to find the probability of even or light gray. How did I spell that? Gray. By first finding the probability that I get an even number. So if I look here at my spinner, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 8 even numbers. Sorry, 4 even numbers out of the 8 possible numbers. Plus, how many light gray spaces are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 light gray spaces out of 8 total spaces. But now notice, when I did my little markings in the circle, I have counted this space as an even numbered space and again as a light gray space. And I did the same thing here. So essentially these two spaces got double counted. I don't want to double count those spaces. So I'm going to subtract off the number of spaces that contain an even number and are light gray. So I'm going to subtract off the number of spaces that I double counted. So working with fractions, all the denominators are the same, so it stays over 8, and then just look at the numerators. So 8 minus 2 is 6 over 8, 0.75. So the probability that I land on an even number or a light gray space is 0.75. So then find the probability of landing on a multiple of 4 or a white space. So multiples of 4 or white spaces. Multiples of 4 are any number that when it's multiplied by 4, we get, multiples of 4 are the possibilities when we take a number and we multiply it by 4. So 1 times 4 equals 4. 4 is a multiple of 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. 8 is a multiple of 4, and so on. And then we're also looking at a white space. So again, it is possible to be a multiple of 4 and a white space at the same time. So these events are not disjoint. So in here, multiples of 4, I have one multiple of 4 and a second multiple of 4. So I have 2 out of 8 possibilities that are multiples of 4. Plus the white spaces. So here I have a white space and here I have a white space. So I have 2 white spaces out of the 8 total spaces. But again, there is overlap. There's a space that's been counted in both of those categories. This guy right here. So we have 1 space out of the 8 possibilities that contains a multiple of 4 and is a white space. So 2 plus 2 is 4 minus 1 is 3 over 8. And that is 0.375. So these are non-disjoint events and how to calculate probabilities related to non-disjoint events A or B occurring.